Welcome, Dr. Oni-Orisan,
Thank you. Welcome to you too, Dr. Edu.
and welcome to all you wonderful people who are joining us for our inaugural Black Feminist Health Science Studies Collaboratory on this here Friday, May 14, 2021. Let me introduce with great honor and joy my co-host and co-chair, Dr. Adeola Oni-Orisan, who is a medical anthropologist and family physician in the Department of Family and Community Medicine at the University of California, San Francisco, and an instructor in the joint UCSF-UC Berkeley Medical Anthropology PhD program. In her research, she engages critical race theory, Black feminist studies, and science and technology studies to examine how ideas about Blackness, gender, and health are reinforced, deployed, and resisted in struggles for health and well-being. She has conducted research on issues related to maternal health in Nigeria, Zambia, and the United States. Her book project, To Be Delivered, Pregnant and Born Again in Nigeria, is an ethnographic and historical exploration of the lived experiences of pregnant women as they navigate intersecting yet competing systems of care proposed by state, church, and international development organizations in search of successful deliveries, excuse me. She received her MD from Harvard Medical School and her PhD in medical anthropology from the joint program at the University of California, San Francisco and Berkeley.
And to introduce Dr. Ugo Felicia Edu, my dear friend and colleague for almost a decade. She's a medical anthropologist and budding playwright, working at the intersections of medical anthropology, public health, Black feminism, and science, technology, and society studies. She is an assistant professor in the African American Studies Department at UCLA. Using interdisciplinary approaches, her scholarship focuses on reproductive and sexual health, gender, race, aesthetics, bodily knowledge, and body modifications. Her book project, The Family Planned, Racial Aesthetics, Sterilization, and Reproductive Fugitivity in Brazil, traces the influences of an economy of race, aesthetics, and sexuality on reproductive and sterilization practices of women in Brazil. She's working on a play as well, Securing Ties, which draws heavily on her book project as a means of critical public engagement and an incorporation of the arts in her scholarship. She has an MPH from Morehouse and also received her PhD in medical anthropology from the joint program at UCSF and Berkeley.
Before going any further, I would like to acknowledge the land upon which the institution employing me stands. Though this event is virtual, the possibility for it depends on our occupation of lands that were stolen from Indigenous people. So as a member of the African American Studies Department at UCLA, who is also co-sponsor of this event, I acknowledge the Gabrielino Tongva peoples as the traditional land caretakers of Tavangar, the Los Angeles Basin and South Channel Islands. The San Gabriel mission of the Los Angeles Basin was the site of conquest, dispossession, genocide, and enslavement of the Tongva. As a land grant institution founded on the exclusion and erasure of generations of Indigenous people, we pay our respects to the Honuk victim ancestors, Ahihiron elders, and Yohikam, our relatives, relations, past, present, and emerging. We would like to encourage you to visit native-land.ca to learn more about the unceded territory you may be occupying and consider ways to support a local nation's work. In our acknowledgement, we recommit to working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism.
Recognizing that this year has been a trying year in both new and tragically familiar ways, we also want to have a moment of silence for those we've lost and the parts of ourselves we have yet to uncover.
Let's take some time, ground, and arrive fully in the space. You may not find what we have chosen to be appropriate or relevant to you. So please, we ask that you step away and do what resonates for you, whether that's a prayer, lighting a candle, saging your space, etc. We will take about 5 minutes, so plan to come back around 9:15, 9:16. Those of you choosing to stay, please find a comfortable position to take. That can be a seated position. You may lie down. You may move around or settle in your body and feel support beneath you. Close your eyes gently, or you can keep them open just a little, gazing a few feet in front of you with a soft, unfocused gaze. Become aware of body sensations in a simple manner, such as warmth or coolness. You feel any tingling, numbness, heaviness, lightness, expansion, contraction. If it works for you, become aware of where in your body you feel the breath most strongly. In the nostrils, in the chest, in the abdomen, somewhere else. Breathe naturally. Feel the in-breath. Feel the out-breath. If you hear a sound that draws your attention, make a light mental note, hearing. Then return to awareness of where you feel the in-breath, the out-breath. When you are aware that you are thinking, planning, remembering, etc., gently bring kind awareness back to noticing sensations of the breath, or if it works better for you, any sensations in any part of the body. The goal is to become aware of what is happening in our bodies and in our minds in a very simple and kind-hearted manner. We are not trying to force our experience to be other than what it is. We are simply noticing and observing with kindness and with compassion. Take a deep breath in and exhale it out as you begin to come back to the space. Slowly open your eyes Change position if needed. Once again, we welcome you. For those that are new to Black Feminist Health Science Studies, it is worth reading the article titled Towards a Black Feminist Health Science Studies, written by our esteemed colleagues, Dr. Moya Bailey and Whitney Peoples. But briefly to introduce you all to it, BFHSS was created by interdisciplinary scholars who started their careers as undergraduates studying women's gender and sexuality studies. BFHSS hopes to be an inclusive discipline that addresses intersectional issues of race, gender, and class, while aiming to highlight the necessity of incorporating social justice into medical science.
We wanted to begin by sharing how we arrived at BFHSS and what it means to us.
Yes, I would say I arrived to it through the recognition of a need for Black feminism in my work. So I was reading texts that dealt with sterilization in Brazil, but refused to address explicitly race and ways, and even implicitly, in the ways that it would lend itself to being in conversation with preliminary interviews that I was conducting. And in these interviews, they were speaking explicitly about race. So it became most pressing when I was in the field and having conversations with Black women feminists or Black women activists, some who were feminists and some who were not. And they were giving me their perspectives, their theories on the fly, their understandings of the debates as they had seen them happening in Brazil. And there was a need to think really carefully and critically about the interactions of Blackness in health practices and discourse. As I was also beginning to articulate my broader research interests, I was finding myself further drawn to thinking with folks not necessarily in the fields I have been trained in. So I do think that BFHSS has been integral to my ability to think more critically and to push my students to do so and to ask different kinds of questions. It is fresh and filling gaps for many of us looking for how to adequately bring together our interesting questions and theories to think with.
I find it so interesting that we both came to Black feminist theory through our research abroad. After my return from my fieldwork during graduate school, I struggled to find the theoretical tool medical anthropology. While in the field, I had discovered Nigerian novelists like Buchi Emecheta and Flora Nwapa, and it was through their work as early African feminists, their own versions of feminisms, that I found what I was looking for. Their fictional works offered pointed analyses of gender, post-colonial relations of power, the toxic masculinity of nationalism, motherhood, missionary Christianity, and so much more. Inspired by their work and the literary theorists who engaged them, I began to employ African feminisms, womanism, motherism, and nego-feminism in my work. Black feminist health science studies in some ways is a response to Fannie Lou Hamer's call to action, to her being sick and tired of being sick and tired, and drawing on the work of Dorothy Roberts, Alondra Nelson, Kathy Cohen, Evelyn Hammonds, and many others. BFHSS is a collaborative interdisciplinary praxis which deconstructs dominant frameworks in biomedicine, health, and wellness in order to recenter the narratives and experiences of Black women in an effort to bring us closer to liberatory medicine and shift epistemic frames to take us out of cycles of violence and destruction. I find BFHSS to be a vitalizing force, not only for my research, but also for my clinical practice and community activism. BFHSS encompasses more than we can lay out now, but we'll end here with this. BFHSS demonstrates the necessity for understanding how societal factors prevent healthcare from being accessible as a human right, not a privilege or commodity. It is with this idea of BFHSS that we undergird this collaboratory and the goals we have for the weekend and beyond.
Yes, because this should not end here this weekend. We hope it should grow and build upon itself. With this collaboratory, we endeavor to bring together scholars, activists, artists, etc., working to eliminate barriers that prevent healthcare access and equity for Black women, um, which ultimately will assist in dismantling barriers for other groups that have been marginalized. Our hopes with the collaboratory included the building of a space for conversation, exchange of ideas, workshopping, whether it's ideas or papers or pieces, designated writing time, community and collaboration building, as well as community care, networking, and capacity building. We decided to center on the theme of racial geographies of health and wellness. And by centering on this theme, we hope to draw works that are putting BFHSS geographies and space and conversation together. We looked for works exploring how the practices and modes of knowledge production of varying branches of the sciences, whether it's health sciences, science like physics, chemistry, biology, and medicine, continue to shape global, national, local, natural, cultural, and racial landscapes, and vice versa. We were interested in works that articulate how a BFHSS lens contributes to new kinds of mappings or seeing and conceptualization of space and place. So we're really looking forward to hearing works that are raising epistemological questions for scientists, health, and medical personnel whose policies, practices, and research methodologies could be leveraged towards the dismantling of racist infrastructures. And we're excited for the next few days. So today, day one, we start with our keynote fireside interview between Sheyda and Dr. Ashanti Reese. We won't be gathered around a fireplace with hot cocoa. Well, I'm gonna have my tea, but cider, hot toddies, or coffee like we planned, but you don't wanna miss this. Following that, we'll have our first two sessions of conversations with opportunity for engaging around issues of demedicalizing birth, ethno-spiritual healing, food justice, representations of reproduction, Black feminist epistemologies, and abolition and public health.
Day two offers even more ways to come together as a community and engage while integrating praxis into theory. We start with the keynote community spotlight, highlighting the important work of a community organization that we have been fascinated with, One Love Black Community, based in San Francisco. Dr. Moya Bailey will host as they share with us their important work. This will be followed by our third session of conversations with topics to choose from ranging from cultural arts, classroom abolition, and race, technology, and health disparities. Following this, we will have 4 sessions of community organization spotlights, introducing us to a diverse set of approaches to identifying and attending to community needs. We end the day with our 4th set of conversations with a focus on inclusion and anti-racism in research.
And lastly, but not least, day 3 presents a couple options to kick off the day. You can come choose to join us in a writing retreat. Just log in with whatever you're working on, whether it's an article, a dissertation, or book chapter, a grant, a poem, etc. You can choose to write with the larger group, or you can break into smaller groups and write and ask people for feedback if you like. Or if you're not feeling compelled to write, you can join a Skillshare. We have 3 options available. You can learn how to use creative arts for healing, navigate the academic tenure process, or build a syllabus to teach Black women's health in expansive ways. Or you may choose to attend a round of lightning talks, where 5 of our colleagues will discuss aspects of their research in 5 minutes or less. Talk about being succinct. We have private workshop sessions where colleagues sent work they're trying to finish or polish, and other colleagues graciously offer to give feedback. Our last session of conversations offer 4 different modes for engagement: reimagining, exploring, interrogating, or ritualizing. We hope you'll stick around for our closing remarks. And for those of you interested in the continuation and improvement of this experimental space, we hope you'll join us in the planning session. Of course, we fully expect for you to continue to connect and work after the collaboratory ends.
So this collaboratory is experimental. We're still working out ways to improve, so we welcome your feedback. We aspired to create an experience that was different from traditional academic conferences, aside from the fact that we are virtual. One way we tried mitigating the kind of destructive and sometimes violent engagements that we have each experienced in previous conference gatherings was to make the conference open only to those who were actively participating, so as to minimize the gratuitous spectating and the harms it might produce. We have taken from the ways we move at conferences as the starting point for this collaboratory. Though in this first iteration we are virtual, consider all the ways you might move through the world during a conference. You might meet with a friend at a cafe to write, visit a museum or exhibit in the city of the conference, and become inspired about your work, or think of new ways of approaching your research. You might meet for dinner or breakfast with new interlocutors to brainstorm ways to collaborate or gain mastery of a topic. We tried to bring that energy to this gathering, despite it being virtual. We encourage you to play, have fun with the app, try to engage with the social aspects of coming together, despite not physically being together.
Yes, and we are hopeful that you applied and have taken out this time out of your busy schedules to participate with a spirit for something new and are open to collaborating with us to dream and enact new spaces and ways for thinking, working, creating, writing, fighting, and collaborating. Some of you are new to Whova, so are we. And there may be some things that do not work because of Whova, and there may be some things that really pop because of it. We encourage you again to play around with the site, use the mobile app, use the web app, and see what is possible with it. We think we can still connect, network, and conspire with it, even if we prefer in-person interactions. But this gives us a chance to also imagine hybrid events that allow our comrades abroad to avoid the drama of applying for visas and travel associated costs, for example.
Our biggest desire for this encounter is for folks to meet, network, can we say this enough, with new people and set yourselves up to begin collaborating. We're hoping to build the foundation upon which we can continue to do work we are committed to doing.
We encourage you to invite speakers you find interesting or other attendees who share your research interests to continue the conversation. Again, we hope you utilize Whova's extras to network, to meet, and to strategize. So for example, there's a community area where you can coordinate virtual meets, or for those of you that are in the same area, you can coordinate to meet in person. You can share articles of interest. I know all of y'all got some interesting work or shows or information like that. That's, again, pertinent for people who are in the same area. And there are just many other interesting ways you may find to use Whova. A lot of us have started using the icebreaker and have learned some interesting things about each other. Finally, if you're interested in helping to ensure the future of meetings like this, please attend the final session, which will be a planning meeting. Hint, hint.
So we're really excited to see what you all create together. Please take advantage of the space. Before we go, we want to thank Dr. Moya Bailey for her initiative in creating the Black Feminist Health Science Studies Collective and for her support of our vision for this collaboratory, an offshoot of the collective. We thank our foremothers of the discipline and the work that they have done, laying down the foundation for us to be here today.
Yes, and I want to thank you, Dr. Oni-Orisan, for always being down to conspire and build with me, despite us being in the midst of COVID and you were deep in residency and boards exam prep. You have been ride or die with me creating this moment. So I thank you. And to our beloved Sheyda, who is in her 4th year of the joint UCSF-UC Berkeley MD PhD program, okay? We literally couldn't have pulled this off without you. So thank you.
Yes, many thanks to Sheyda Aboii for her work. None of this would have been possible without her. And thank you to you too, Ugo. We also want to thank all of our generous sponsors for making this possible, which include a long list, so bear with me, but UCLA's Institute for Society and Genetics. We are grateful for UCLA Center for Racism, Social Justice, and Health, for UCLA's Center for Social Medicine, and the Department of African American Studies at UCLA. At UC Berkeley, we're thankful for the Center for Social Medicine and the Institute for Study of Societal Issues. And at UCSF, we have been supported by the California Preterm Birth Initiative, Cherish, the Department of Family and Community Medicine, and the Person-Centered Reproductive Health Program. We also received support from the Center for Reproductive Rights and Justice at Berkeley Law School, Northeastern University, and many thanks to our MIT technical production team.
Yes. And some small housekeeping, there's always a little bit of it. Please make sure you're using the most recent version of Zoom. You want to make sure that you mute yourself whenever you enter a session. As much as possible, fill out the evaluations to help us improve. These should come after a session. And I think at the end, we ask that you be mindful about how you're taking up space. And in the spirit of getting to know each other as best we can in this virtual space, we wanted to take the last, we have about 14 minutes to give folks the opportunity to share. So what are you looking forward to most about the next 3 days? How does BFHSS relate to your work? Or how would you like it to relate to your work? When you share, please try to state your name, where you are, and your answer to the question. You can do it, I guess, well, yeah, anyway.
So feel free to use the Q&A to share, or also if you are interested in sharing and want to raise your hand, we can unmute you and allow you to speak. I just want to start by saying that I'm looking forward most to the community spotlights, as I just feel like it's not very often that we're able to engage in such an interdisciplinary setting with people who are on the ground doing the work. And so I'm really excited about Saturday's sessions. Oh, it looks like Sheyda typed in a question about the icebreaker space on Whova and the other ways to connect. So the icebreaker space is only available on the mobile app, I think. And so if you have the mobile app, there's a lot of different ways you can connect there, but one is that icebreaker space. On the web app, there's you can create meeting rooms and chat with people there and invite people to join you. There's also areas where you can upload articles and engage with each other that way.
Well, hopefully, as you look at the agenda, maybe some of you haven't seen the agenda yet, so you don't know what to be excited about yet, or you're still thinking about what we talked about in terms of the agenda. But hopefully, maybe at the end, you could share what you're excited about, and or you get excited as it begins. So I think there might be, yay, Nisette Falu, who's an assistant professor of anthropology at University of Central Florida. It's just thanking. She wants to say thank you. This is the only forum. I'm just going to read it exactly as it's written. This is the only forum I need for validation and pure joyful exchange. I am looking forward to the merging of Black feminisms and health science studies all 3 days, and especially to the writing retreat on Sunday. Yay! Thank you for joining us.
We're also going to have we created a Black Feminist Health Science Studies playlist. Mostly Sheyda created it. And so we will also have a little playlist going during the writing retreat. So we'll also post it. It's a Spotify playlist, so you can just kind of have it.
And we hope that you'll also help us add to it. You can always use some new music. All right. Well, yeah, I'm also looking forward to the planning session so we can figure out how to get some more artists because I'm always looking for engaging with the artists.
Yeah, agreed. I think that was one group of people that we our networks didn't include, but as much. But we were really excited to have more creatives in the space. And Olivia Adams, who's a PhD student of gender studies at Indiana University, is really excited for the collaborative feedback portions of the collaboratory. And as a young researcher, she is always looking for ways to improve her work. Great, awesome. Anyone else want to share? I know it's hard to be like typing it all up. I'm not sure if there's a way that we can, I think in this webinar format, it's less possible to get other people to be unmuted.
I can unmute them if they raise their hand.
Okay, perfect.
Hello, this is Sheyda here. I just wanted to highlight that there's some communication going down on Whova. Dr. Moya Bailey is expressing excitement. And we also have Dr. Victoria Massey, also excited to be here and to think through planning.
Great. We look forward to seeing you, Victoria, at the planning session. And thanks, Sheyda, for monitoring the Whova app. There's so many different ways for us to connect, maybe too many, never too many. All right, and we have from Nalubega Ross, a PhD candidate at ASU studying sex, birth, and childcare, looking forward to all the new ways of thinking about my work or her work and how she can add Buchi Imacheda and Ama Ata Aidu to her currently dry work. I'm sure your work's not dry, but I am all for adding the theoretical insights of those authors to your work. And perhaps we can discuss a little bit more later.
Yeah, this would be a great time to go ahead and make a virtual meet in Cuba. And no, Hoover's not paying me. Don't mind my little plug-in of Hoover.
All right, Mariani Palapi Razijan on unceded Ohlone land. Thank you for letting us know where you are. She says, I'm so excited to share space, imagine with, and celebrate with you all. Thank you for creating this space. Thank you for joining us, Mariani. Sheyda, what are you most excited about?
I'm really looking forward to this conversation in a few minutes. That's definitely the highlight of this Friday. And I'm also really excited about the writing space as well. I'm entering my third year where we have to do our qualifications exams. And so I want to treat that space as a space to reconnect with the spirit of the project that's in progress for sure.
Awesome, that's great. It's nice to have like a specific writing goal to enter that space. So that is wonderful. Any last comments, answers to our questions or questions? If not, we will break here and then, well, before we break, I do want to leave you with a quote, which we hope inspires you throughout the conference and going forward. This is a quote by Abena Busia, who's a literary theorist and writer. She writes, "Our reality is not that we are neither white nor male. Our reality is that we are both Black and female. It is in the belief that our narratives can be transformational that we begin. The difference is crucial. For what we are undertaking is a process of affirmation, to proclaim that selfhood, our very own, which has heretofore been othered. We are not reaffirming our presence or actualizing ourselves as if we have been absent. We know we never left. We are simply, but quite radically, reclaiming our own stories, which have for so long been told for us and been told wrong." So with that, we will leave you. Please join us back here again at 10 a.m. Pacific time, so 18 minutes from now, for our keynote presentation with Ashante Reese being interviewed by our very own Sheyda Aboii.